Los Pintores is a podcast about the challenges faced by the Hispanic community in the painting industry. We'll be sharing stories, tips, advice from leading figures in our industry. We will, no?
Yeah, we will.
Did I say we will?
Yeah, we will.
I said that?
I don't know. Did I hear that?
Take two.
No.
Listen.
So, hello everyone. My name is Juan Vasquez. I am the founder and co-owner of Illusions Painting. My partner.
My business partner.
Okay, yeah. I like him, but not that much. So what was it?
Hello everyone. So my name is Jose Hernandez, and I'm a co-owner of Illusions Painting, and came on board back in 2019
2018, I think.
or 18.
Yeah, something
Okay,
like
let's
that.
do 18.
So I started Illusions back in 2007. Just needed a new challenge. I didn't think my boss was fitted for me, and I needed a new challenge, and didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Say my job.
Huh?
Say my job wasn't fitted for me no more.
My job wasn't fitted for me no
Yeah,
more.
you don't say my
I
boss.
haven't heard that one, but that's good. Okay,
Yeah.
It wasn't fitted for me now, and right now I don't know what I'm doing. But today we're doing this podcast, by the way. So going back to the story here. Sorry guys, we didn't get sidetracked very quick. I started Illusions back in 2007. I worked in the company for about 12 years before Jose came on board.
What's changed since Jose came on board?
Well, a lot of things have changed. First of all, we had, as much as we like each other, we had to get to know each other, how to work properly in the business, and share ideas and actually respect the ideas. That was the tough.
Be okay. Support the ideas.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just the sharing part that was very difficult. Well, it wasn't actually difficult, but it was a challenge. Thankfully, we've been able to, move forward. And I think the biggest thing is we both share the same mentality, the same mindset, and the same goals for the business. So that really helps us to really narrow down what we're going for and are going for. So that is the biggest change in our business.
Obviously, coming from Mexico to America and setting up in business has a lot of challenges. So what would you say the biggest challenges have been for you guys since you started your business in America?
For me, it was the language. That was one. And then when I became, a painting contractor, it was not knowing the business part of the business aspect of the, not just the trade, but the business part. That was the biggest challenge.
Well, I think just like a lot of us here in the country, Hispanic, of our Hispanic community, that's been one of our biggest challenges. The language barrier. Different cultures, by the way. We came here when I was 12 years old, so no word of English. I've learned enough, so when I went in business on my own, I was fortunate to be able to communicate myself a little better. But I know that's a very tough one, the language barrier.
For most of us, I
For
think.
most of us, exactly.
But you sort of jumped straight into it, didn't you? Rather than just doing it softly, you both had to learn English, didn't you? And would you say that's probably one of the most important things you've had to learn to be successful in business in America? It's impossible to ignore, right?
Well, you said it right. I mean, if you're in America trying to run a business, you gotta know the language that's spoken, and so that's something that I do believe is a challenge, especially for an individual who's probably an adult. But I think it's very, very important. We hear from leaders in the industry about systems and so many things that you can do and implement in the business. But we have a couple set of challenges, and that is our language barrier. So if we don't address that first, then we can't move forward, right? So that, I believe, is something very important that we need to address. Don't you think?
Yes, definitely. Language barrier.
Okay, so apart from the English lessons then, what are the other most important lessons you've learned in your many years in business?
Don't do this. Run. Go work at an office. Nah, I'm just
No,
kidding.
I think for me it was probably like fear. It's just an imaginary line. I think that
like
was.
that.
I think that was.
How
That
come
was
I
a
see
very
that line
important
all the
lesson.
time though? If it's
You
imaginary.
just gotta cross it. Just gotta jump
Okay,
it. It's just
okay.
imaginary. Okay.
I think you guys would really understand that and can really relate to that, because fear, it is tough to go past fear. You know, fear of everything, fear of being in front of someone talking. Like, guys, this is our
Fear of
first
being in front of a
This is
camera.
our first episode, so we're right here under the gun. So yeah, am I shaky? Maybe a little. How about you? Nah, he's good. He's a natural.
I'm no.
You're a
I don't
natural.
know. I'm just drinking my tea.
So what could you do better? Like, what are your weaknesses? What are you still working on?
You want to take
I
that
think
one?
being more organized, systematize the business, basically get the business part, 100% nailed down. The trade, I think we got it really good. There's always room for improvement, but definitely the business part, we want to keep improving and get it better. What do you think?
I think here we share different challenges, even though it's the same company. Jose sees a lot more of the improvement out on the field, and I perceive more of the improvement in the office and kind of like our vision of our company. So same thing too. I think one of the biggest challenges, the biggest things that we can all work on, and for us especially, is systematize. It's creating a system that can repeat itself, and so that we're not doing 20 million things at the same time every day for the rest of our life. So yeah, that's what we're working on at the moment.
Jose, what is the best advice that you can offer to someone who's starting out in the business?
I think the best advice, I probably won't say the best advice. The one thing I can tell you, don't do what I did. And it's, I think you got to know your numbers. You got to know the business part. More important than the trade. That's one thing that I learned from a lot of these successful business owners. We wanna own the business. We don't want to be owned by the business. So I think that's the best I can say.
What they say, have a business, own a business, not have a job, right?
Yes, exactly.
For when in the beginning of the podcast, I said, I ran the business for 12 years by myself, but I had a job. I had to be there every day.
You were wearing too many hats.
That I still do, but at least I can take a day off now, right? But he's right, about advice that we can share now, and this is actually something that is coming to us day after day. Advice towards us to improve ourselves. This is something, if we were to be starting again, God, I mean, look at the business side of it first before you jump into. So basically, go try to find someone who can help you in the business side of it and not just the painter, because that's what we would do first. We will go hire the painter, or we would go and do the painting. No, let's look at it a little different, and let's look at it into creating a business, not a job. So that would be my advice, and I think we can share that.
Exactly.
Based on our experience, I think that can be very helpful. At least that we would do that if we're starting a business again.
Right, because that was the question I was going to ask. So if you were going to start out again, with all the knowledge you have now, then you would basically think about the business as a whole, the business side of things, before putting a brush on a wall.
Exactly.
That is correct.
But maybe you can only learn the business side of stuff by forcing yourself through all of those experiences in the first place. All the trial and error.
Well, I mean, if
You had to put food in your belly to start with, right?
Oh, of course. You gotta jump in there. I mean, we're painters now. I guess they've been calling us entrepreneurs. I don't
know if we're entrepreneurs, but I know we're not.
We're interested in it.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
We
Right.
keep moving forward.
No, but definitely a business, understanding a business really can get you further. And more than anything, I think it's just if you want to create a new business, you want to create it with the intention of freeing yourself. And if you don't have that since the beginning, then it's going to be hard to learn it later on when you have way more things on top of you, when you have to pay your bills, when you have to do everything else. So, yes, I think it's creating that mentality of a business first would take you further.
From being on site, working from dawn till dusk every day, and having a crew of 4 people, how did you make that leap to now having a crew of 30 people and being able to travel around the country presenting and teaching people and also doing things like this? What was the biggest thing that helped you make that shift? Is there one thing, or is there a few things that you'd point to?
I think there is a lot of things, and if I always share this experience. When I first partnered up with Juan, I remember I was working, like he said, from, late. I was working late, almost every day. And a couple of times he came up to me. He goes like, "What do you want out of the business? What do you want to do? How do you, where do you see yourself?" And in my head, it was like, "Well, I see myself working because I have to, get this job done. I have no one else to do it for me." Mm-hmm. And so that was the biggest, the biggest take on this. The biggest challenge, like they say, put down the brush. That was the biggest, for me. What about you? Put down the beer, maybe?
Can you repeat that question for me? Because I got so into what he was saying that he brought back memories.
When Jose came on board, there were 4 or 5 people in your company, and you were on site every day from dawn till dusk, working your fingers to the bone. Now, 4 or 5 years later, you've got 30 crew. You're doing things much more from the office. You're traveling around the country, mentoring and educating people, and you're doing podcasts, and you're doing all this crazy stuff. Like, how did you make that shift? Because I think lots of people want to know that.
Wow, God, we can sit here for quite a bit of time, and
I think we can make a separate episode out of just this
second
one
episode.
Question.
God, no, but
one, two, three. Yeah.
What about the takes? Okay. So I'm gonna throw this name out there because there's ships, and I'm gonna go back to that. But PCA, if you're not a member, go be a member because it'll change a lot of things. It will change your life, or change your business. So we go back to basically, how you say it changed. Well, I think that I've always had this mentality. I remember even talking to him before this, saying like, he's always had the mentality was like, if I don't do it, if I'm not the one doing it, it's not right.
Like nobody's going to do it better than me.
Correct. And I've always had the opposite approach to things. I'm more like, if I'm not good at it, I'm going to find the guy who can do it 10 times better than me. So I've always had the intention. I think the intention was always there. I just didn't really have the right guidance, or I didn't have the right mentality about it. So I guess when Jose came on board, we're going to talk about this a little bit more as we dig into with a couple of the guys, and we're going to talk about how we got here and all that. But I don't want to bore you guys today, right? Yeah, please.
Episode 18, bro.
Yeah, maybe that one. But we became part of we became a partnership. And I've took on the leadership of saying, we got to find something to grow our business. Jose was helping me out on the field, and we stumbled upon PCA. I think, we didn't have an idea. We had no clue of what we're doing, at least me, what I was doing. But just being exposed really just kind of brought everything that I already had inside of me and just brought it out like, okay, this is what I was looking for. So that's basically how it went. It was already there the whole time. I just needed to find the resources. And none of the reasons why we're here to show you guys and tell you guys there's so many resources out there.
And I think it was 2018. That's when everything started, shifting and clicking.
Yeah. Wow. So when you think you have a business that you've been running for, I don't know, past 12 years, and then all of a sudden you go to this expo and you come back and you basically tell everyone in your crew, and we had Isabel, our office assistant at the moment, and it's like scratch everything we have.
We're gonna start from scratch.
We're starting from scratch, and that's what we did. And I think that's the best thing we could have done.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you've talked about like influential businesses that you've worked with, influential organisations. What about influential people? Who are some of the most influential people that you have met in the painting and artisanal industries? Maybe you could answer first, Jose.
I think for me there was a couple of people, and both of them starts with Nick. That was Nick Slavic and Nick Mays. These were the two Nick Slavic painting and restoration out of Minnesota, and Nick Mays walls by design out of Denver, Colorado. And I think they're when I heard their when I had a conversation with them, and I hear basically the way they run their business, how systematized they have their business. I think it opened up a lot of ideas for us, at least for me personally. So I think if people ask me, I said, and maybe that was the two people that I probably met at the beginning, and up to now I still listen to their podcasts. I still enjoy like some of the lives, and when I'm driving and I have the time to listen to one of the lives from Nick Slavic. But I'm always following them and learning and listening to them. It's very, very powerful.
Is it because they're so educational? They're offering so many insights all the time. Is that the main reason? Because you just feel they've got so much to offer in terms of insights and education.
Exactly. And one thing about them, especially like they don't hold anything. Like I did talk to Nick Mays and Nick Slavic in person. We met him in a couple of expos. I had a one-on-one conversation with them, and they don't hold on anything. Just like you see him on social media. You see him in person, and you ask those legit questions, and they give you a legit answer. So.
And I think that's very important. We touch this subject quite often, and so when you have influential people like that, and they're accessible to you, it just gives you such a boost, of energy, and it takes you to the next level. So that's that is true, and that's all through PC8 again. So keep count on how many times we go back to that.
What about influential books or influential bits of content that have really inspired you and helped you move forward? Is there anything you could recommend?
So this is how do you say? This is something that I have to share personally. I'm a high school dropout, just like him.
Hello.
So school wasn't my forte, right? But reading, I never liked reading. To me, it was always boring, and it was always like, well, why do I need to read a book for? Well, 2018, everything changed. We went to the expo.
First expo.
And what was the book called?
The E-Myth.
By Michael Gerber. So that was the first book that I said, you know what, I'm gonna download it on. I didn't even have the app, right? Audible?
That's what I ended up.
I downloaded the app, and that was the first book that I downloaded. And by listening to Michael Gerber on this book, and it's like it gave me a lot of ideas again, and to me, I think up to now, I always go back. As a matter of fact, a couple of days ago, I was going back to listening to Michael Gerber. I remember it was raining, it was pouring. I put my headphones on, one of the headphones on, and so I was listening to Michael Gerber while it was raining, because we've been having a storm here lately in California.
Mm-hmm, we're flooding.
Yeah. So, what do you think? What's your...
God, I mean, I share his story. I mean, I actually was very good at school. But we don't want to get into details why I didn't make it out of school, right? And we'll touch that. We'll touch that one later.
Why did you drop off?
Well, I mean, I had a baby at 16, and so I had to find a job and landed onto my painting.
Trouble kid to stay away from this guy.
Not no more. I promise. So when we went to the PCA, we go back to the PCA. This is the first time we go there. I've read a book because my teacher made me, maybe back in school, but I don't read a book. I don't think I've ever finished the personal book. So they introduced us to listening to books, and I was like, well, cool. So now I paid, I think it was like $14 a month or so for my app, so I can have as many books So going back to those books, listening to Michael Gerber and how he's talking about when you create a business and how you create a franchise model business. And in the beginning, I was like, "What are you talking about?" But now it makes so much sense. So we went from listening to that. That was like just fitting that little seed. That's what created that. Now, I mean, I listen to different books. I don't know. I listen to some books in Spanish, quite a bit actually, and we're talking about content. So I've never really been so big onto podcasts until recently, where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. And let me tell you,
because I've been bugging him.
And
I'm like,
let
you
me
gotta
tell
listen
you,
to this guy. You
God,
gotta
so
listen to this podcast.
it's hard for me because I'm done with one and I'm already jumping into the other one. I cannot tell you how many saved ones I have on my in my phone. So Brandon Pierpont, Nick Slavic. I listen to some other ones that are just extremely funny because I like how personal this can be, and that's what really encouraged us to do this. To bring ourselves out to you guys and to bring you guys or someone into our whole industry, and that's what we create. So when we talk about that, I think that really has changed or like moved us, so much.
I also like the fact that you can listen to a podcast whilst you're doing something else. Like, if you're reading a book while you're driving, you're going to crash the car.
I was gonna say, so since, like I said, reading wasn't my thing, it wasn't my forte, but I'm like, well, you know what? If I can read, then I can listen because I drive a lot. I'm always on the road, and every time I'm driving around from one job site to another one, I'm always listening to either a podcast or a book. And I'm always jumping back and forth, and I always go like, "You gotta listen to this." I'm always sharing like, "You gotta listen to this."
It's funny because you become that guy that was like, every time you see me, I was like, "Hey, have you heard this? Have you read this book, or have you listened to this book?" And before I was the guy who like, "No, thank you," but now I'm like, "Hey, you gotta listen to it, man." And yeah, some people will enjoy. Some people like, yeah, whatever, my old Juan. But yeah, no, a lot of knowledge there for sure.
Okay, so in terms of technical stuff or parts of the business, what skills or techniques have you learned or are you learning this year? What are you into? What new stuff are you into?
Me? God, okay. So if we want to get personal, I don't want to get too personal, but I've been working on how can I say it? I've been working on myself. It is good to have a goal on your business, and it is good to conquer the world. Like I use that word a lot, or that sentence a lot, to conquer the world. But I think we have to find peace within ourselves, and we want to be happy with what we're doing. So for myself, that's something that I'm really looking into, is finding out the reason why I do what I do, and that involves working out. Going for a walk. I mean, we go fishing every once in a while.
Family.
We have family. We have a place where we can escape quite often, and we do that. So I think that's very important. I mean, there's a lot of skills. There's so many things to learn, but I think that we have to learn how to live in the present and how to be happy. And so I'm really digging into that.
Like, what do they say? It's like enjoy the
journey.
The journey,
Right.
The destination. Eventually, you're gonna get there, but enjoy the journey. Live every day.
Yeah, because personally, I mean, you can get wrapped up into, if you guys see, so many things go through this company on a daily basis that we can get lost, and you gotta be able to find yourself. You gotta be able to disconnect and just as much your business is giving you, you got to be able to take that and enjoy it.
Yeah, one thing that we always talk about is like, have short memory. If you had a bad experience, forget about the bad experience. If you had a good experience, forget about it. Keep looking forward. So just keep leaving everything behind. Don't carry it, because that's gonna hold us.
Nice. What are the biggest changes that you've seen in the industry since you started out?
God, night and day. I mean,
Yeah.
when I started, I was a 16-year-old. I can't call myself painter. You know, I was a 16-year-old kid.
Helper.
A punk. There you go. A little. No, I thought I was badass.
But
Okay,
we were the kids.
yeah, we were the kids. You know, and so we had no phones at the moment. I remember having a pager. Do you remember that? Right? We had a pager, so we can do that.
It was quite years ago. A lot of people probably won't know what a pager is.
We didn't. Yeah, exactly. we didn't carry. We didn't carry a phone, so we didn't take pictures of things.
But
So
if anybody had a phone, for sure it wouldn't have a camera. It wouldn't be an iPhone for sure. It wouldn't be a
Exactly.
BlackBerry. It wouldn't be a
just a
Samsung.
flip phone.
Yeah,
Just
it was a
something
flip
very
phone,
simple. So we were looking at things and trying to look back at like how we did things or what we did. Well, we don't have a lot of memory of it because other than our memory is bad, so it doesn't work that well, right? Because we're painters, right? The fumes. But going back to the changes, I think professionalism it's always existed. Maybe in our trade it hasn't. Maybe not as much because sometimes the trades have been seen as like a duty place to work. Like they don't see
a low grade job.
yeah,
probably.
like you don't see a future. If you can't make it somewhere else, then you're gonna go to the trades. But I think that at least for us, after being involved with the PCA and seeing how much there is from so many people around the country to really professionalize this at least the trade, the painting trade, it's amazing. It's digital. There's so many groups now that you can talk to. So many people actually make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about millions of dollars in a painting company. So now it's bringing the interest of more people. And so has it changed? A lot.
Big time. Yes.
How? I think it's becoming more professional. I think thanks to associations like the PCA and people like Nick Slavic who really take the challenge on to like make this a very professional trade.
Elevate the trade.
Elevate, exactly. It's not no more like the guys who just drive around with a couple buckets in the back of the truck and they'll do whatever paint. No, I mean we're talking about we're going to classes, we're going to trainings to get ready to paint a house. So there's a lot more into it now. So I mean it's just a whole different industry from what I remember.
And that's what we're going to talk about throughout this podcast series, isn't it? We're going to talk about training, we're going to talk about digital marketing, social media, all that sort of stuff. And this is just the start. But as we wrap up with the English version of the first episode of the podcast, is there anything else that you want to say to the audience about moving forward?
So I want to do that. We really want to make this somewhere where, if you guys see where my knees are, we want to make this a community where we can chat and share ideas. We're not professional, and we're not gonna sit here and say if you run your business this way, you're gonna get certain results. I think for us it's mainly sharing the experience of the Hispanic contractor in the industry. Definitely want to have more Spanish podcast. We're gonna have full Spanish episodes, but we also want to bring people that can help us and our guests to improve their businesses. Yeah. So we want to make this a fun community, a fun place to join and to talk about,
share ideas.
Yeah, exactly, but not in a very formal way, right? Because we're not that formal. Yeah, I'm just saying.
So you gotta follow the Spanish one version because
you gotta go to that one because you might get interested in what happens there.
Remember,
but no.
This is the first one, so we're a little bit more like.
So if you guys don't realize this, we have an amazing man behind us, okay, and we're talking about why things change and how things change. Well, there's a guy behind this, and that guy's not a guy. He's the man. He's a magician. And his name is Oliver.
Oliver.
Okay, so you guys, he's gonna be in our podcast here pretty soon too, and it's just, guys, just go out there, and find what you guys like trying to work on your business and see what you want your business to look like, right? I got this question asked when we first started going to the PCA. I had no clue. I just wanted to have a good business, right? So if you have that, then now you can go find so many resources out there, but you have to have that. Gotta understand that. Once you do that, you can reach us. I know that there's in the PCA many people who can come and help you. Resources are out there. Please go look for them, and you will see a difference in your business.
I think that you
Right.
covered it all.
Oh shit!
You're good. You're good.
Hugging the mic. See, did you stop it? Oh, I think you can stop it now.
Good job.
Wait, okay.